Hello, everyone. So today I'm doing this live through StreamYard, which is a new experience for me. What that means is that if you want to comment or interact, you want to give it permission. It'll have a little link there you can click on, and then when you comment, I can see your name. So my name's Shiloh Miner, and today I am answering a question that was submitted to me on my Facebook page. And the question is, why is simple communication so hard? Just talking about ordinary stuff. And then there's a follow-up question I hope we can get to, which is, why is it that we can discuss our differences, even agree to make changes about it, and then we go back to our old behavior? Like it doesn't stick, right? Even though this is what we wanted to do. So first of all, with communication, this woman who wrote into me, she was talking about simple stuff like what to have for dinner or this or that. And she's like, why is this a fight? Like, why does this always become something? Like, it's become a deal. And so the first thing I want to say is there's no such thing as simple communication. And that's because there are multiple levels of meaning and context below and surrounding any conversation you're having. So sometimes this is called subtext, like the stuff, the unspoken things that change the way you understand the communication. And there's lots of different ways to look at this. I mean, there's body language, there's your vibe, there's your energy. I mean, there's history in the relationship. There's so many things. Hi there, I see 4 of you, but I can't see your names. So glad to have you here. And so some of the questions that are going on are, do I trust this person? Do I feel like they respect me? Do I feel like they like me? Am I accepted here? And these are not conscious questions. You're not running through these things. These are things that our mind are like thin slicing, right? We're making these calculations really, really quickly when we're talking to someone. So when you're in a conversation with your partner who, things have been a bit rocky, or maybe you just had a conversation yesterday about how your needs were not being met, how you were not satisfied, he's thinking, she doesn't like me. Whatever I'm doing is not acceptable, so I'm not accepted here. And I don't really know. He's on edge. He's defensive. And so her example was, she said, hey, what should we have for dinner tonight? And he said, well, why don't we have those those chicken patties I like, the kind you just throw in the oven. And she said, oh no, I want to save those for when a harder day, because those are really easy to make. And apparently he thought she got mad, and he was like upset by that. And she's like, well, what was that? Like, we just were having a conversation about dinner. And I see what was going on there. She asked him a question, and then he gave her his answer, and then she didn't take it, which men hate that. They find it very disrespectful. And often women will get together and make like a collaborative decision, like chat it out. And I have yet to find a man who enjoys that process. It'll be like, you asked, I told you, you didn't take it. Why did you ask me? Like, what? Why did you involve me in this? And he projected on her that she was mad. It was probably that he was mad by that interaction, but it comes down to all the things that were under the surface that were coming out in that conversation. Another thing that can make conversation difficult is that all relationships are cross-cultural. So when you have a couple who are from different countries or, different cultures, we know that there's going to be challenges. We know that they're going to have norms and values and experiences that are different than ours, and that, you kind of got to tread lightly sometimes. It's going to be tricky. But actually, all relationships are cross-cultural, because we all came from families of origins that are different from each other, where the way we did things, maybe we hugged, maybe we said I love you, was considered like weird and like over the top mushy in someone else's family. So like doing that is like, it's not natural, feels not part of their culture. And so that goes with communication too, right? In some families, you can have a big, loud, boisterous discussion, and that's friendly, that's cool, right? In other families, if you contradict someone even in the slightest way, now you're having a fight. Now it's a fight. Now things are bad. Now it's tense. Now we got to lock this down and everybody's angry. Well, this is radically different expectations for what a home life and what healthy communication between adults, between lovers, between a married couple should be. So you're going to run into these things all over the place when you're coming only from your own mindset and when you expect theirs to be the same as yours. And so to take that to the next level of difference is that actually we all have different realities. And this is not some woo-woo quantum physics thing. It's just that our reality is the result of our perceptions of the world, the way we look at things, the way we interpret things. And each person's reality is as different as each individual person. No two people have exactly the same way of seeing the world, of seeing people, and of interpreting their environment. And so when our partner does something where we're like, what on earth? Like, how could someone even think that way? Like, how could they ever do that? It's because we are seeing this environment and we're thinking, this is facts. This is just the way it is. And how can this person be such a crazy out there asshole? Like, that is just, beyond the pale, unacceptable. But they're coming at it from an entirely different perspective. Like, clearly they are, because most people don't go out of their way to be assholes. They're not like trying to piss people off, right? But they're coming at it, they're interpreting it in their way, and they have their own skill set as well. So whereas we might have built up certain skills to deal with certain kinds of difficult situations, they might have different skills to deal with different kinds of complicated situations. And so this is just one of many, but three of many reasons that communication can be very difficult. The foundation of which being emotional safety. When you do not feel emotionally safe with someone, there will always be conflict. It will be about everything. And it's because your nervous system is activated. You feel scared on a primal level that this person who you live with can't be trusted, and you're going to be defensive. You're going to be looking for threats. So what can you do about it? The first thing you can do is you can deactivate yourself. You can be as safe as possible. You can take responsibility for creating as much emotional safety as possible. And the way you do that is you get safe with yourself. You stop taking things personally. You go, okay, this person might get upset. That's okay. I don't need to jump into that and feel upset too. You let them have the reality, and you don't make it wrong. You don't make them bad for having a different reality than you. But you also don't, shove your reality under the rug and say, oh, I guess they see it differently and I'll just have to capitulate. It's like, no, you bring your reality to the table, they bring theirs, and you find that dance between them. But if you can not take it personally, that's the first thing to do. And that's a lot what I help my clients with. So they'll say, oh, my husband did this and it was so hurtful. And like, how could he do that to me? Like, if you really love me, would he do that? And I go into all the ways that he could be doing that for a million different reasons that have nothing to do with how much he cares or does not care about you. Usually it's not personal. People are just acting their habitual ways. Which brings us to the next question, fits right in, is how can you sit down with your partner, have a big conversation about what's going wrong, agree on what the problems are, decide what you're going to do, make changes, and then just fall back into the old patterns. And you're thinking, oh, we went through this, like it's the same old over and over again. And the first reason is really simple. Change is just really hard. It's hard for everybody, right? We have our habits. And often women will say to me, like, I've told my husband how I feel, and he'll change for a couple weeks, then he goes right back to the old thing. And they're like, clearly he doesn't care. Like, he's not really putting in the effort. But like, I want to ask you, when's the last time you committed to yourself that you were going to change something? You lasted for a couple of weeks and then it went to pot. I mean, I've done that like a million times, right? Like, every time you decide, I'm going to work out more, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to like keep this routine going. And then you go back to your old habits because that's just natural behavior. And so both partners can fall into that trap of like, yeah, I'm going to make a big push. And then, we get back to our old rhythms. We kind of become less conscious. Life gets busy and we take the path of least resistance. The second reason that it can be so hard to sustain change is that we don't have the right skills and we don't have the right support. So we're going into a situation where we're going, I'm going to be different. I'm going to do better. But we don't even really know if we're choosing the right things to be different and better at. And we don't know if we're going to get the results. We don't know if it's going to work. And we don't have anybody having our back, talking us through it, supporting us in it, giving us tips and tricks of how to tweak, our efforts. And, that's what I do as a coach. That's a big, big part of it. I provide that emotional support on the back end going, you did that great, keep trying. Or, hey, I know you were trying to express it yourself genuinely, but it really came across as a judgment. And then my clients go, oh yeah, I guess I did tell him he was being selfish, which is a judgment, right? Someone's going to be defensive about that. So getting the right support is so critical to sustaining change, because all of us are going to go back to our old habits without somebody holding us accountable, without a community, without a mentor, without somebody there going, hey, I'm here for you. You're doing a great job. Like, keep it up. You'll get there. And then the next one is that we do not reward these changes enough. And this is something you can do for your partner when they're making changes. You can do it for yourself too, by giving yourself like that affirmation of like, hey, I'm doing my best, did a great job, like noticing the change. But if you're wanting to see changes in your partner and you're like, well, he tries a little bit and he goes back, you need to really, really validate the smallest changes he makes. Because like maybe, for example, he's not an affectionate person. He doesn't touch you, doesn't hug you. He's just like, goes through his day, day ends, he hasn't touched you. And you're like, look, like I really want some touch. Like I'd really like a hug, like a back rub, whatever. And then he gives you a hug and you're like, and then, he gives you a hug another day and you're like, finally. Like, if you don't show visibly to him that what he's doing is making you happier, his calculation is going to be, I'm putting in all this extra effort. I'm doing something that is not natural for me, something that I have to think about, have to consciously go do. And I'm not seeing any result. Like, does it even make a difference? She's still mad about that I didn't help with the dishes, or she's still mad about the kids, or she hasn't really shown me this change. So I'm just going to go back to what was easy. And again, this is not conscious. There's not like a big like masterminding going on up here. That's just how it works. If the effort is not worth it, if it's not resulting in something we want, which is he wants you to be happy. Any good man wants his wife to be happy. He wants to be part of creating her happiness. Then you're not going to do it anymore. So one of the biggest things we miss as women is that we are very verbal about the things that are not working for us, and we're very subtle and diminutive about the things that are working for us. So when it's not working, we're devastated. We're like, I'm lonely, I'm dying here, like, come on, help me out. And then when we do get a little bit of what we want, we're like, that was nice, but I need a lot more than that. But that's the critical space, is rewarding that first little growth of like, oh, that felt so good, thank you. I really appreciate when you come and see me first thing when you come in the door. Like, I really feel cared for and loved. And smiling, like, you got to respond with your whole body. It can't be like, thanks, that was nice. Because when you're happy, he's going to feel happy. He's going to be like, oh, I'm doing a good job. I have a happy wife. Like, I'm a cool guy, right? Whereas right now, if you've been having all those talks, he's thinking, I'm not a cool guy. My wife is pissed. She's never happy with me. And that's like dampening down his effort levels. His efforts are going down more and more. The more he feels like a loser, the more he feels like, nothing he can do to make you happy. So all that to say, there's so many things you can do to improve your communication and improve your ability and your partner's ability to make changes and sustain them. But they don't happen accidentally. They don't happen just by trying harder with the same thinking, the same knowledge, the same support you always had. Because if that worked, you would have already done it, right? You've probably read some books or listened to some podcasts. And, I've been there. When my marriage wasn't doing well, I had read so many books. And I was like, I know how all this works. If my husband only read the books, we would sort it out, right? And he was just like, this is not inspiring me. I don't really want to read these books. He didn't, of course, say that. He just didn't read the books. And so I just want to really encourage any of you women out there who feel like you're powerless because your partner's not coming to the table the way you want him to. He's not like reading the books or like having these explicit conversations about it. That stuff usually doesn't work. And I think it would work really well in like a really conscious relationship that's already doing well and wants to just make it better because you already have that foundation. But when things are strained and you're not doing so well together, you don't want to talk about it. Like, stop talking about it. Don't talk about it to him, because it just makes him feel worse, less safe, more shut down, more defensive. And so you're actually creating the opposite of what you want. And that's because you're focusing on what you don't want instead of focusing on what you do want, which creates that upward spiral. So that was a long one today. I'm so glad that I've had some of you here to watch. And I'm going to do one again next week. I already have a question ready for that a friend sent me, and I'm really looking forward to using that. And anyone else listening, please send me your questions. I love doing it this way because I can help you with real things you're struggling with. And for any of you who wants a little extra support, I want you to know that I only can take about 6 clients at a time, and I only have 2 spots left right now. So if you're really keen and you're just like, I've had enough of this, like this, either marriage is just like, it's like not awesome, but like you're not going to get divorced tomorrow, like that's no way to live. It just sucks, and you do not have to stay there. So reach out to me and we can absolutely get started. Anyways, have a great night, and I look forward to chatting next time.